Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today is Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. And we begin with two teenagers stepping up to help the thousands of people fleeing Ukraine. 19-year-old Avi Schiffman and 18-year-old Marco Burstein, both freshmen at Harvard, set up a website they describe as a super simple, stripped-down version of Airbnb, where anyone can sign up and offer the refugees trying to escape Russia's invasion a place to stay. Over 4,000 hosts are already listed on the site called Ukraine Take Shelter. Most are in Eastern European countries near Ukraine. Marco told the Washington Post that they both feel incredibly fortunate to have loving families and live in a safe environment and felt it was their turn to give back. And another big sign of support, several capital cities in Europe are renaming streets with significant locations. In Lithuania, the street leading to the Russian embassy is now called Ukrainian Hero Street. And in Norway, the area in front of the Russian embassy is now Ukraine Square. Meanwhile, Russia appears to be in need of some help. U.S. officials told the New York Times and the Washington Post that the country, which launched the invasion of Ukraine nearly 3 weeks ago, has apparently asked China for economic and military aid. The relationship between those two countries has grown pretty strong over the past few decades. And while China has called for a peaceful settlement in Ukraine, it has rejected sanctions against Russia, which the U.S. and many other countries have put into effect to try to hurt Russia financially and convince leader Vladimir Putin to end the war. Yesterday, the U.S. firmly warned China not to give Russia any aid. At this time, China's response is unclear. We mentioned March Madness is about to get started yesterday on KidNuz, and now we know how the teams are ranked for this year's tournament. The overall top seed in the men's college basketball competition is Gonzaga, with Arizona, Kansas, and defending champion Baylor joining the Zags as the other number ones in their brackets. Early round games begin tonight in Dayton, Ohio, and conclude with the Final Four in New Orleans on April 2nd. For the women's tournament, South Carolina is the overall number one, with NC State, Stanford, and Louisville rounding out the remaining top seeds. And this is the first season that, like the men, the women have 68 teams selected and can also use the March Madness and Final Four logos and branding. Their first 4 games begin tomorrow. We may need to roll up our sleeves again. The CEO of Pfizer said in an interview on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday that a 4th COVID shot will be necessary to keep new strains of the virus at bay. The company is sending data to the U.S. government for review, but it's not clear when or even if the FDA would okay another dose. Former President Barack Obama's already had 3, but that didn't stop him from testing positive. He said on Twitter that he'd had a scratchy throat for a couple days, but was otherwise feeling fine. His wife, Michelle Obama, has so far tested negative. Overall cases continue to go down in the U.S., but that is not the situation in China, where the number of new cases tripled over the weekend to the highest figure in 2 years. Government officials there still want to keep virus case counts close to 0, so any new outbreaks mean those cities need to cancel in-person classes at school, shut down group events, and order more mass testing. And after a COVID hiatus, K-pop phenomenon BTS has returned to the stage. But there are some pretty big rules in effect for concertgoers. The band's management company has asked fans not to yell, clap, or stand up during 3 weekend shows in Seoul, South Korea. That's a tough ask for the Army, which was instead given light-up clappers to smack together when prompted. The crowd size was also controlled down to 15,000 in a stadium that seats 70,000. That's it for KidNuz. Now, the KidNuz quiz. What's the name of the website 2 teenagers set up to help Ukrainian refugees find a place to stay? Ukraine Take Shelter. Which colleges are the top seed in the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments? Gonzaga for the men and South Carolina for the women. Which former U.S. president tested positive for COVID? Barack Obama. Fans who go see the band BTS in concert can't do what? Yell, clap, or stand up. In our KidNuz Kicker, scientists say they've figured out the language of pigs, and the porkers apparently have a lot to say. As first reported in The Sun, the research involves studying the recordings of more than 7,000 grunts to work out which ones meant the pig was either happy, excited, scared, or stressed. Short grunts meant they were in a good mood, while lots of grunts showed they were upset. Pigs are highly intelligent animals with complex emotions, on par with dogs. It's hoped this information can be turned into an app for farmers and pig owners to recognize how a pig feels. Before we go, we want to give a big KidNuz shout out to some of our terrific teachers and their students. Miss Carrillo at Acacia Elementary in Fullerton, California. Mr. Abel at Early Elementary in Montague, Michigan. Mr. Gordon at Dwayne D. Keller Middle School in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mrs. Bork at Madison Elementary in Dixon, Illinois. And Ms. R. at Columbine in Denver, Colorado. Thanks for listening. It really helps if you rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And we might share your comments in our emails and on social media. We hope you tune in for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.